From doing tricks to actually speaking, here's our list of insane mermaid sightings caught on tape. Now starting off, we have Jump For Me. In a scary video captured on TikTok, Ryan Coleman, who was working on a boat in the night, was terrified when he realized that there were creatures following his ship at fast speeds. Now he believed them to be mermaids and he recorded the whole encounter because he didn't understand what was happening. He kept asking the camera, "What is that? Do you see that?" Now, I'm gonna be honest, it's freaky, and the fact that it's nighttime makes it even more terrifying. Now as he shows these creatures keeping up with the boat, you can hear them making moaning sounds and wailing. Now at one point though, you can literally hear one say, "Jump for me." Now every time I hear that audio, I get chills. A lot of people in the comments then said that these creatures were not mermaids, but sirens trying to lure the men into the sea. And I mean, it makes sense considering one literally said, "Jump for me." Then there's the Hawaii sighting. In 1998, a diver in Hawaii claimed that he got the first ever documented proof that mermaids exist. He was 20 minutes off the coast of Kauai when he saw what looked like a nude woman swimming with a pod of dolphins. Now the woman was able to keep up pace with the dolphins, which he thought was odd, but then all of a sudden she jumped up into the air and he realized that she had the lower half of a fish. Now it turns out she was no ordinary human, but a mermaid. Now 10 people on the boat witnessed this incident, but the mermaid disappeared after just 2 jumps out of the water. Now if he thought that was incredible, that wasn't the only sighting that he had. Almost an hour later the same day, after seeing the mermaid and the dolphins, as he was photographing some underwater life, that same mermaid brushed up against him while swimming and turned back around just in time for him to snap a few pictures. He said, "I feel very lucky that I'm the one to finally prove to the world what people here have known for half a century. The Kauai Point mermaid is real." Now he is a pro diver, so I feel like I believe him with what he saw because he knows what fish and other sea creatures look like. And let me say, I think the photos are convincing. Next is the Israel sighting. In 2009, dozens of locals near Kiryat Yam, Israel, claimed to have seen a mermaid off the shore at sunset. Now an alleged mermaid said to resemble a cross between a fish and a young girl only appeared after sunset, and it performed a few tricks for onlookers before disappearing for the night. One of the first people to see the mermaid, Shlomo Cohen, said, "I was with friends when suddenly we saw a woman laying in the sand in a weird way. At first we thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached, she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all shocked because we saw she had a tail." Now eventually the Israeli government noticed all the attention and issued a $1 million reward for anyone who could provide proof of the mermaid. Now that didn't include capturing it, it simply required an authentic photo. Now this wasn't the only sighting in Israel, as it seems like the most compelling pieces of evidence to date was a video shot by 2 tourists in 2013. The pair thought they had spotted a seal on a rock just off the coast, but as the camera zoomed in on the subject, it became clear that it wasn't a seal, it was a mermaid. Now despite the evidence looking real, the prize money has not yet been handed out, but hey, the footage looks real to me, give those people their money. And finally we have Caught in a Net. In a quite alarming video, it appears that some fishermen caught a mermaid in a net. Now fishermen aren't used to being surprised when they haul up their nets, but this time they caught something so wild that they actually dropped it back in the water. A clearly humanoid arm with a webbed hand reached back at them from the net, as if trying to grab the men. Now the men lean back to avoid it, and the net slips and falls back into the ocean. They then scramble to lean over the side of the ship to see if they can catch another glimpse of the creature. Now I understand them dropping it as it was so scary, but it would have been so great if they were able to keep it. Mermaids are real. Don't believe me? Well, what about this recent sighting in Australia? I mean, a mermaid literally washed up on a beach there. In July 2023, photos of a creature resembling a mermaid alien washed ashore on an Australian beach. Now the image came to light via a post in the Marine Biology Facebook group, and it was exactly like a mermaid shape, said uploader Bobby Lee Oates, 34, of the skeletal remains, which she stumbled across while walking along the beach in Couple Sands, Queensland. We were driving along the beach looking for a campsite, and we couldn't help but notice how much the skull looked to be in the shape of a human, she recalled. So we instantly stopped from the confusion as to what the hell this could be, and why does this look like a human skull. Now Bobby Lee, who estimated that the creature was 6 feet long, described it by saying it had a human-shaped skull with an elongated jawline, and hair similar to the color of a cow or kangaroo, but with hair missing in many places due to decomposition. She continued by saying it was exactly like a mermaid shape, but hairy, because it seemed to have a tail or limb of some sort. Now she posted the image to try to figure out what the creature was, but never got a definitive answer. So could this be some sort of mermaid? I think so. Then there were the soldiers who saw a type of mermaid. During World War II, Japanese soldiers were stationed in the Key Islands in Indonesia and had some weird encounters with what they said were mermaids. Now the local villagers were familiar with these creatures and called them orang-iken, which translates to manfish. Now these creatures were described as being around 150 centimeters tall, having spikes on the spine, shoulder, and neck. They were said to have pink salmon-colored skin and a mouth that resembled a carp. Now rather than having a fishtail, these creatures had long arms and frog-like legs, both of which had talons at the end. Now the Japanese soldiers recorded many different sightings, saying they even saw one on land, but they mostly seemed at home in the water. For one instance, a troop of soldiers claimed to see one of these creatures jump out of the water onto a nearby rock. Now it turned and faced the soldiers and let out a gurgling, burping noise that didn't seem to be too friendly. Then they saw another creature moving smoothly in the water towards them as fast as any fish would. Now not knowing the intention of the creatures, the soldiers started shooting at the rocks and into the water, only to have the creatures disappear from view. Now a sergeant named Mr. Taro spoke to the villagers and requested if any of the orang-iken were captured, dead or alive, to contact him immediately. It was soon after that the chief summoned the general and, to his astonishment, saw with his own eyes the lifeless aquatic creature. Now he described what he saw as roughly 4 foot 9 inches tall, pinkish skin, human-looking face and limbs, spikes along its head, and a mouth like a carp. Now this just sounds like something out of a horror movie, absolutely terrifying. Now, fishermen don't get scared too easily, as they see a lot of scary things being out in the middle of the ocean, but I doubt any of them ever thought that they would come face to face with a mermaid. Yep, you heard that right. Some fishermen accidentally caught a mermaid. In an alarming video, it appears that some fishermen caught a mermaid in a net, and they were so shocked that they accidentally dropped it back into the water. A clearly humanoid arm with a webbed hand reached back at them from the net, as if trying to grab the men. Now the men lean back to avoid it, and the net slips and falls back into the ocean, with the mermaid escaping and them being left with questions. Now, is this legit? I think so. A user commented this on the video, and I agree. They said this video is amazing, almost a real proof about the existence of mermaids. Notice that the camera is unsteady, and it means that the situation took them by surprise. The creature trapped in the net is powerful and so desperate to get rid of it, and its aspect cannot correspond to a human being or any other animal. Now, it's understandable that the fishermen got in a panic and let it go back into the sea, but that was just so creepy. And finally, we have another story about an Australian mermaid, except this one is alive and well. A short clip was posted online of what could be a mermaid swimming among a reef. In 2007, a diver off the coast of Australia claimed to have encountered a real-life mermaid. In the footage, we see a diver filming a school of tropical fish in an unknown reef, and in the distance we see a humanoid figure swim towards the camera. Now it appears to be half human, half fish, with a long scale-covered tail. The enormous fins appear to propel the creature effortlessly through the water. When the clip was uploaded to the internet, it caused a speculative frenzy, as some herald the footage as strong evidence of mermaids. Now analysts have noticed that the creature swims easily through the water without the use of its arms, and instead it uses its long fin tail to glide forwards. Now could this diver have actually captured a real mermaid swimming in the sea? I think so. Mermaids have been spotted all around the world for hundreds of years, and some people have actually found proof, like the diver Jeff Leichner. On April 12, 1998, Jeff and 6 other divers were exploring the bottom of the ocean. Now while exploring, Jeff ended up capturing a photo of a mermaid. I was photographing some colorful fish with my underwater camera. Suddenly I felt something brush against my right leg. She shot by me like a streak of lightning, then turned and came back past me, swimming the other way. I just aimed the camera and started snapping pictures, he said. I kept shooting as she broke for the surface and swam away. Now Weekly World News had the pictures analyzed by 3 noted photography labs, and all 3 say that the photos are genuine and have not been tampered with. Now this wasn't the only time that Jeff had seen a mermaid. He told another story saying, "Most of us who are out in these waters regularly have heard stories. We were on our way out to the point when a school of dolphins started following the boat, playing in our wake. Suddenly one of the men on the port side starts yelling and pointing. I couldn't believe what I saw. There, not 10 feet from the bow, was what looked like a nude woman. She had long flowing hair and one of the most beautiful faces I've ever seen. But there's no way a human being could be swimming so fast. She was keeping right up with the dolphins. She then leapt into the air and my heart almost gave out on me. The entire lower half was covered with scales and tapered back into a huge fishtail. She jumped once more, then disappeared under the surface." Now it's said that all 10 people on the boat witnessed the bizarre incident. Now in 1967, near the main islands of British Columbia, Canada, a ferry filled with tourists spotted a mermaid. The creature was seen in the early evening by passengers on ferries close to the west entrance to Active Pass. Now the Daily Colonist reported on the sighting the next day, saying long silver blonde hair and topless condition were generally agreed upon. Now the next day they referred to her as a dimpled mermaid and said that she had a lower body of a fish or porpoise. Now the newspaper said she had been at Helen Point on the northwest corner of Main Island and had been seen eating a large salmon. A Cobble Hill man who flew over the area shortly after 7 p.m. managed to get an aerial photograph which corresponded closely to a picture taken from the Queen of Saanich by an Iowa visitor, the Colonist said. Now a similar incident happened later that week with a mermaid spotted, but that time there were plenty of skeptics who didn't believe she was real. Charles White from the Undersea Gardens financed a $25,000 reward for the mermaid's capture and even offered a room and board with special combs for the mermaid's pleasure. Now unfortunately nothing came out of it and the story died off. And a mermaid popped up in 2012 in Zimbabwe when construction workers were working on a dam. Now it scared them so badly that they refused to work. Referred to as the Mamba Motu by the locals, the mermaids were harassing locals as they attempted to complete construction on the dams. Now the local workers believed this to be a bad omen and refused to finish construction on the dam, so the local council, in an attempt to pursue the continued construction of the dams, hired white workers to finish the job, as this was an attempt to hire persons not engulfed in the legend and the popularity of the Mamba Motu sightings. However, these workers fled the construction site as well, and they vowed to never return due to the rage and harassment of the mermaid. In an attempt to placate the irritated mermaids, local council members and chieftains decided to perform ritual rites and cleansings to allow for further development of the dams. But hey, I don't blame the workers for not wanting to finish the dam, as that sounds scary.
Angry mermaids have been spotted and they are not messing around. Here we have a terrifying encounter near the bottom of the ocean. A small group of researchers were exploring the vast open waters near Greenland when they made a very unexpected discovery. The researchers were using a handheld camera to record everything they were seeing outside of their submersible. While they were seemingly enjoying their time underwater, there is no way they could have prepared themselves for what was going to happen next. Just as one of the scientists had their back turned to the side window, a mysterious creature went swimming past the submarine. It was impossible to tell what exactly it was, but it was moving very fast considering how far they were below the surface. And just a brief moment later, the creature returned to give the researchers the scare of a lifetime. The strange animal smacked its giant webbed hand against the window of the submarine before scurrying off back into the unknown. The researchers turned around in a mad panic to see what had just collided with their ship, but the animal was long gone. They returned to the mainland unharmed to examine their footage, and they were absolutely stunned. The head of the creature was visible for a very brief moment and appeared to be some kind of humanoid entity. It looks like these researchers might have accidentally wandered into the home of one very angry mermaid. Here's a scene that looks like it was taken straight out of a Resident Evil game. It looks like these scientists were up to no good in their puffy white lab coats, and it appears that they were carrying some precious cargo. Now, it's a bit of a mystery where this was actually filmed, but it appears that one witness might have spotted a terrifying experiment. A mysterious team of researchers were walking away from a lake, and they were holding a large gurney that was occupied by a non-human entity. They were very wise to cover up their mysterious catch, but a part of the creature was visible from a distance. It looked like a very large fishtail was hanging off the end of the gurney, but no one was able to properly identify it. Now, because of the large proportions and the serious efforts to hide its identity, many believe these scientists were actually transporting a real-life mermaid. Now, it's unclear if the scientists actually caught the mermaid or brought it here themselves, but people are demanding answers after seeing this video. Is it possible that a group of mad scientists are actively trying to create their very own mermaid species? Unless they have a serious change of heart, it looks like they may never reveal the actual truth. This mermaid is holding a deadly position that was well documented in old pirate tales. A group of tourists in Mallorca, Spain believe they spotted a large mermaid while they were out in the water. This creature was seen from a considerable distance, but it's pretty easy to tell this is not your average sea mammal. The humanoid-like figure had a pale blue skin, and it appeared to be covered in fish scales. It also had the traditional mermaid proportions, which include a human-like upper body with a fish tail at its base. And while the creature itself is obviously very intriguing, it's actually the way it's positioned that has really caught people's attention. Sailors used to describe how mermaids and sirens would sit on rocks and sing songs to attract pirates into a very deadly trap. They would use their charm and their unique appearance to entice the sailors. This would only be a clever way to fool them into walking straight into their final moments. Whether or not this creature was actually trying to replicate this cunning attack is a total mystery. There was no sign of singing in this video clip. It's quite obvious that the ship captain was making sure to keep their distance from the suspected mermaid. These fishermen snagged a terrifying mermaid that looked like it wanted a piece of its captors. What was supposed to be a normal day out in the water for these commercial fishermen ended up turning into a mythical encounter of epic proportions. Crew members ran out onto the deck to examine their catch of the day when they realized that a mysterious creature was caught up in the net. Struggling amongst the usual haul of fish was a giant animal that none of the fishermen were able to identify. It was incredibly hard to see it through all of the other fish, but it was easy to see that something was moving around. The workers just stood in awe as they stared into the fishing net, but things got a lot scarier once the creature decided it had finally had enough. At one point during the struggle, the humanoid managed to push its arm through the net and revealed a terrifying webbed claw. It nearly struck one of the fishermen who was standing on the deck, and that was the final warning they needed. The workers dropped the net back into the water, and the creature was never seen again. Although they had to walk away from the day empty-handed, these fishermen still managed to escape this terrifying encounter unharmed. These brave people decided that they were going to try and catch their very own mermaid with bait. This seems like one of those don't try this at home moments. Looks like these people were determined to get to the bottom of this mystery. This is another sighting that took place in an undisclosed location. It seems like some people were already well aware of what was lurking in the area. Now, perhaps they had already seen the creature before or heard rumors about a strange humanoid, but these brave citizens decided that they were going to go and find it for themselves. They decided to use a real chicken that was attached to a fishing pole to try and lure the unknown creature out of the water. They dangled the chicken above the surface of the lagoon, and it didn't take long for this terrifying monster to show its face. This was not the kind of mermaid that you would see in a Disney movie, and honestly had more of an extraterrestrial-like appearance. It had a very ghostly face that was similar to the one that was spotted in Greenland, and did not seem in the mood to make friends. It reached its giant claw out of the water and snatched the chicken off the fishing pole in one very swift motion. Now, this video really shocked people online who were baffled by the discovery. It looks like a strange species of humanoid could be lurking right here on Earth.
Songs that lure men to their demise. Beautiful creatures that can put you into a trance with a simple look in their eye. Let's dive into the world of mermaids and their mysterious underwater secrets. You remember the scene from The Little Mermaid where she's following the boat close behind? This guy seems to definitely be going through that as well. Although not on a pirate ship, a very curious little mermaid has taken an interest in this person. Simply fishing on his kayak, this fisherman's GoPro managed to capture a striking visual footage of a head popping out of the water. Mind you, this is the middle of nowhere, so this is quite terrifying to see what appears to be a human head popping out from within the mist, and quickly sinking back down when the man feels a presence watching him. Human senses are terrifying. I find it hard to believe this could be a seal or something similar, because the fact that they were able to duck down the moment the man turned around is telling. I don't think regular marine life would clock in it that fast. But again, I'm not a marine biologist. Patience is a virtue. This YouTuber by the name of The Truth Is Out There had been constantly coming back to this little cove to try and catch some mermaids. He had been hearing locals discuss how important this place was, and how mermaids love to come by and play around in the shallow waters. Well, he allegedly got us proof. Not too long after starting up the camera, two little heads of marine life pop up from the surface, bobbing their heads up and down. The cameraman obviously becomes very excited, trying to contain his joy by keeping his voice down in fear that he might scare off the supposed mermaids. He becomes a little ambitious, however, because towards the end of the video, he talks about laying a trap for these mermaids and trying to lure them in with fish covered in honey. Would a food combo like that lure you in if you were a mermaid? I'm sure we've all seen this mermaid sighting go crazy all over TikTok. It was a long night for this fisherman who uploaded these videos to his account by the name of Sauce90. And apparently this weird night first started with abnormal crab encounters. It was odd to him, but nothing out of the ordinary, and tossed the crab back. His videos were pretty normal after that while he continued to record his journey, until he noticed that the same crab was thrown back onto his boat. He then begins to hear what he assumes was dolphins singing, and quite loudly at that. It almost sounds like a person screaming. He then captures some crazy footage of two sea creatures keeping up with the speed of his boat as they travel alongside it. This encounter goes as far as to follow him all the way back to the docks, which is highly unusual. Another striking video he uploads the next time he's at sea is in the morning, where just below the surface of the water we see a greenish yellow tail, and dare I say, do I see a trail of hair just further up its body? What are your thoughts on this? Witnessing mermaids in the dark is terrifying because your brain can't necessarily make sense as to what's going on. These poor coast guards became subjected to that, zooming fast in dark and choppy waters, only to see out of the corner of your eye some strange creature jump out right beside you. The one driving doesn't seem to notice for obvious reasons, trying to look ahead and keep the boat steady. But thankfully it was his buddy that noticed this creature jump out for a brief moment before diving back in and swimming beneath the boat. The one coast guard, caught by surprise, quickly darted to the other side of the boat to try and catch a glimpse of it one more time. The first appearance it makes is incredibly eerie, with its eyes reflecting the light from the camera, giving it that scary hollow look. Despite its size, it looks incredibly old, not a speck of hair appearing on the top of its head from what I can see. Definitely reminding me that not all mermaids are the beautiful enchantress we see in movies. The Wolf River Mermaid. These mythical creatures love to show up around fishermen, probably because they're the ones that already have their camera out. A couple of buddies were out along the calming waters in Wisconsin, fishing and having a blast, until a strange creature poked its head out very briefly before realizing that there were people around before diving back down. It happens extremely quickly though, but the supposed mermaid head just stays out just long enough for the cameraman to notice it. Quickly she dives back down, with her tail emerging just behind her, revealing a very spiky looking spine. The man jumps up immediately, fishing no longer on his mind now that there was a potential mermaid swimming around them. Many are backing up this video as well, with one comment stating, "To those that don't live in this area, there are no dolphins or seals there. It is a freshwater river in the Midwest." Farther down than any human has gone before exists a world guarded by those that are half fish and half human. On rare occasions, they come to the surface, appearing before us and sometimes accidentally getting caught on tape. This video was labeled Mermaids of the Caribbean and was uploaded to YouTube only 6 years ago. This video is incredibly intriguing. An older man decides to spend the day on a dock but notices something strange out of the water. Quickly taking out his phone, he started to record what he believes are mermaids playing with each other. What's even scarier is that while the majority of mermaid videos are shot from far away, this is the first video we ever get to see of a mermaid up close and clear. This marine creature seems to continuously poke its fin out, and we get this amazing visual of a very jagged and clearly worn out flapper. It's clearly been around for some time, showcasing its age and history that it's been through. I don't know what to make of this. I've never seen anything so detailed before in an alleged mermaid video. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think this could be a mermaid? I feel as though Nashville would have been the last place to encounter a mermaid, but apparently they have them over there as well. Uploaded to X back on August 14th, 2020, this woman uploaded a video titled "Somebody in Nashville Saw a Mermaid." And there it was. Out in the middle of an open water was some creature or person sticking its head up above the surface. From far away, it does just look like a regular person. You'd think nothing of it at first. It isn't until it dives beneath the water that we finally get to see its tail flap in the air. A lot of the comments under this video are mixed, with some saying it's real while others are calling it a complete hoax. I personally don't believe this is real, but who knows? I've been wrong plenty of times before. What are your thoughts on this Nashville mermaid sighting? A starking porcelain mermaid was seen swimming out in the middle of the ocean, with some, if not the majority, of deep-sea creatures that are so far down, the lack of light in these twilight zones oftentimes keep these creatures colorless or translucent for camouflage purposes. I think that's what we're witnessing here, although I'm not entirely sure why a deep-sea mermaid would be so far up along the surface like this. But my hope is that it's not because it's nearing the end of its lifespan. Based on how it's moving around so freely though, it doesn't seem to be going through any drastic changes, but looks like it's having a fun time. I'm not entirely sure who the original uploader of this video was, or what was used to film this footage, but it's definitely weird seeing this sort of creature out in the middle of nowhere. What do you think? Japan's bizarre mermaid fossil. This strange specimen has stumped scientists for years as to what this thing could possibly be other than a mermaid. Japanese versions of mermaids aren't as pretty and beautiful as our Western versions, but they're more on the creepy and scary side, with pointed teeth and sometimes having menacing horns above their head. The description is similar to this fossilized mermaid. Although it doesn't have any horns, it still has the terrifying needle-like teeth, as its mouth is constantly forever dropped, frozen in a horrifying expression. The legend behind this mermaid is that back in the year 1222, this mermaid washed ashore along the beaches of Hakata Bay. Originally picked up by a fisherman, it was labeled as a good omen by a local shaman, who then had it buried in the Ukumido temple, which was a sacred place for the ocean dragon god. Although people cannot be sure if it's an actual mermaid, they decided it was best to keep a legend as a legend. Baja California has been getting some very interesting mermaid sightings. Uploaded just over a year ago, a random account posted this very intriguing video of a supposed mermaid jumping out of the water. Their attention was first grabbed because they saw something similar closer to shore and quickly pulled out their camera. I had to personally watch it myself a few times to be sure that it wasn't a dolphin, because although the jump is similar, there doesn't seem to be that noticeable dorsal fin. Its body is very sleek and lengthy, and for a split second I could have sworn I saw a human-shaped head before it disappeared into the depths below. It happened all so fast though, and the creature is super far away, so I can't be 100% sure on what this thing actually is. If this wasn't a dolphin or a shark, what could it be? What are your thoughts on this?
Seeing a mermaid could either be the worst or best experience of your life. Although beautiful, they will not hesitate to drag you down under into a watery grave. So let's check out these encounters. A mermaid finally appeared at the notorious Flat Bridge in Jamaica. Now this bridge has a horrifying curse placed upon it, as its backstory for how it was first built is a heartbreaking tale. But because of this, Flat Bridge has become one of the most haunted sites in the country, causing horrific accidents, apparently putting people into trances, and is a hot spot for mermaids to come and seek unsuspecting prey. In this video, a group of guys noticed something out in the distance, just a little bit past the bridge, as it was a tiny brown speck, which was a head full of hair that could not be mistaken for anything else other than a human head. Now, thinking that someone had fallen in, they quickly went over to see, but once they saw her tail, they knew she was a mermaid. Trying to record her, the mermaid quickly sinks down below the murky water before they're able to capture anything else from her. Now, a leaked UK Coast Guard video just proved the existence of mermaids. In the middle of the night, a couple of Coast Guards received a tip that someone had fallen over a boat during a yacht party. Quickly rushing over to the waters in complete darkness, choppy waves, not being able to see 20 feet in front of them, little did they know that they were sailing over right into mermaid territory. In the video, we see these two blasting through the waves, and there on the far right corner, for a split second, we we see a humanoid-looking fish breaking through the surface. Its eyes were glowing this eerie white as it reflected the searchlight, and the top of its head was completely void of any sort of hair. Now this thing upon first glance looks absolutely disgusting the more I watch it. Now one of the Coast Guards noticed this bizarre creature and tried to follow it to the other side of the boat, but alas, it was gone forever. A siren attempted to lure two men into the crashing waves below. Now, sirens and mermaids are not stupid. They are known to be highly intelligent creatures. To come across one in your travels, well, you may just find yourself locked in a trance from their supernatural abilities. While out on a hike and scaling some cliffs next to the ocean, a group of people noticed what appeared to be a seal chilling on the rocks down below. Having not seen a seal before, they wanted to take out their camera and record the encounter. However, the longer they stared at this thing, the more they noticed that this was no ordinary seal. Now before they could even process that it was a mermaid, she turns back at them, stares at them for a few lingering seconds, and then crawls into the ocean. Now this was no accident either, as she knew what she was doing, hoping they would follow her towards her watery doom. This siren that inspired the Little Mermaid was finally discovered. All fairy tales come from some sort of truth, and rumor has it there is an actual mermaid out there that people have seen that has the exact same appearance as her. Now this mermaid was discovered chilling on the rocks next to a lighthouse, and it was, to no one's surprise, a random fisherman who noticed her from far out. Now at first he thought it was just some sort of sea creature that accidentally found itself trapped on the rocks, but getting a bit closer though, he noticed the bright colored green tail and flowing hair. It was actually a mermaid taking a rest, and he just so happened to be in the right place at the right time. Although the camera is extremely shaky from being zoomed in and the rocking of the boat, we are able to somewhat see this magnificent tail, and I mean, what are your thoughts on this encounter? Now, an alien mermaid was caught on camera by Navy sailors. Yeah, while working the majority of your waking hours on the sea, you are bound to come across something bizarre and strange. Now sometimes it might just be a hybrid between an alien and a mermaid. Either we were entirely wrong about mermaids and how they look, or aliens are taking an interest in them. In this video, a group of sailors noticed a strange creature lurking beneath the waves, but it didn't look like any creature that they were used to. Pulling out their cameras, they managed to capture its bizarre alien fish-like shape. When the marine creature turned to its side, we got to see the shape of its human-like head, but its arms were nowhere close to ours. It had white stripes traveling down its body, and the sailors began to speculate that it had to be some weird mermaid-alien hybrid. And I mean, how terrifying is that? Have you ever fallen in love with a mermaid, enchanted by her beauty and song, or were you simply fooled by a malicious trick? Check out these videos for yourself, and you can be the judge of that. Flatbridge, Jamaica is a mermaid magnet, and they caught this one on film. Now mermaids are considered extremely dangerous in Jamaica, and not the typical beautiful women we are used to seeing in the northern parts of North America. Now they also know when a mermaid is going to be active or is ready to make her appearance, with one local stating, "Whenever the river changes its color and gets dirty like now, that's when it's dangerous. That's usually when the mermaid is active." Some people came here in 2016 and walked up and down the river and came out harmed, with 6 people passing shortly after. Now although the water is clear in this video, she still decided to show up, with her hair appearing as a stark red color before slipping into the waves below. Now do you have any ideas as to why mermaids would find this spot so appealing? Now 2 mermaids stalked a fisherman in the middle of the night. If you don't remember the viral video that transpired back in 2023, a man had uploaded to TikTok about his experiences with mermaids following home back to the docks. While just trying to do his job on the boat, strange circumstances kept happening to him that were very out of the norm. For instance, there was a crab that came onto his boat, and naturally he tossed it back. But not even an hour later though, that same crab was tossed back onto his boat. Now he's slightly freaking out at this point, but it only gets even scarier when he hears screams out in the distance, and they were not the screams of dolphins. In one clip, he was able to even catch them them keeping up with the speed of their boat, swimming with such speed and intensity. Now even when they got back to the docks, they still followed him, and I can only hope that he's still okay after all of this. A new species of mermaid has just been discovered. New creatures within the same genus are popping up all the time in our world, so it only makes sense that it would be the same for mermaids. A man named Jeffrey Ketty uploaded his experience when two very bizarre looking mermaids came and checked him out at the docks. Now he first noticed abnormal looking creatures splashing through the water from off the dock, and unsure of what he was looking at, he decided to film it to see what the internet would say. Now Jeffrey even managed to get a really cool shot of one of the mermaid's tails up close, showcasing its jagged edges and the years of battles deep beneath the ocean blue with other sea creatures. Now, if you came across this, would you be willing to jump in and take a closer look? A mutated mermaid was discovered injured and stranded on the docks. Now mutations happen in all sorts of animals, and especially with those lurking in our oceans. It seems with this unfortunate mermaid, all our years of pollution that we've done has finally shown its side effects. Now this mermaid is incredibly ugly, with very narrow arms, an incredibly thick torso, and a tiny head on top, and a lobster textured back. Now in the description of this video, the uploader described this creature as being hostile and in pain, as we can see in the video as well that it almost appears to be injured as it tries to pull itself from off the docks. People in the comment section have their own opinions to say about it, with mixed views on how he should have handled the situation. While others pressured him into helping it, others warned him to not get close. Now if you saw an injured mutated mermaid, what would you do? A mermaid came to the rescue of a drowning scuba diver. Now some people's biggest fears about scuba diving is accidentally getting caught on something, your oxygen running out, and you're left at the mercy of the ocean. Once a scuba diver managed to capture his entire experience on film, and even captured a mermaid coming out of nowhere to try and help him. While exploring a somewhat shallow part of the ocean, the man decided that he wanted to test his boundaries by going into the water a little further. Now eventually, however, something sharp caught him somewhere on his suit, and with all the equipment he had on him, he wasn't able to escape. While panicking, he notices this larger creature swimming towards him, thinking it was a shark. But it was in fact a mermaid. She cautiously swims over to him above his head, but sadly that's where the video cuts off. Do you think she saved him or had a much more gruesome fate in mind? Now, do you have a mermaid video you'd like to share? Send us your clips down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.